So Ryan Brew continues his coverage of COP28 in Dubai and brings us some new developments coming out of a recent media briefing. Ryan, good morning.
Good morning to you, Jason, and good morning to all of your viewers as well. You're right, we have some news just coming in. Simon Steele, the UNFCCC Executive Secretary, held a media stakeout just a short while ago, within the last hour, and he would have addressed the media for 6 minutes and 43 seconds. That includes 3 questions from the media before he was whisked off by his secretary. Some of the topics that he touched on, he started with loss and damage funding, then went to the global stocktake, and he also addressed the adaptation finance and plan. I'll start with loss and damage funding because that was the first thing that he talked about, but obviously that's very important to us as well. Update on negotiations. There's not so much update on negotiations, but he did spell out that he's hoping that something positive comes out of loss and damage funding and its negotiations over the next week. He said that in the aftermath of Sharm el-Sheikh at COP27 in Egypt, he did promise an innovative approach to loss and damage funding, and he set up a committee to deal with that fund. And he was pleased to say that loss and damage funding has a spring in its step when it comes to the negotiations, mainly because of this committee. But he is hoping that the negotiators don't settle for what he termed the lowest common denominator politics. That means that they just settle for the lowest bar. Okay, we'll just give this fund whatever we can give this fund to because it's vulnerable countries that need it. He's hoping for something of substance for this fund. He also said that, good intentions for loss and damage funding is not going to help save people's lives. It's not going to give people the funding who need it the most. When it comes to the global adaptation plan, he's calling for doubling the finance when it comes to adaptation plans. Of course, we already know that only 50 countries in the world at the moment actually have climate adaptation plans. So he's calling for a doubling at this COP28 of the adaptation finance. We also looked at the global stocktake. That was the least of what he talked about, but he did say that negotiators are looking at the global stocktake as we speak. He's hoping that by the end of this conference next week, and this is me quoting Simon Steele, the UNFCCC Executive Secretary, he is saying that we need a bullet train by the end of this conference. Simon Steele says right now what we have is a caboose, an old car driving on very rickety road. He says what we need, however, by the end of this COP28 conference is an express train to deal with the effects of climate change. So that was the morning here at COP28. Simon Steele, the UNFCCC Executive Secretary, updating us on negotiations, ongoing negotiations that are taking place behind closed doors. Jason, I will keep you updated as we go along as to the key things that will affect both Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean region. But for now, I'll hand it back to you.
Hey, Ryan, as always, our sincere thanks for giving us the latest out of COP28, keeping us in the loop, and just continue bringing it to us in real time and keep up the great work. That's Ryan out there giving us the latest.